The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your very filled with gratitude host, Mike Azalina, joined by my buddy Regzy Boo. Regz, do you remember all of the Thanksgiving meals we used to have at E-Town?
Well, they would serve the Thanksgiving in the cafeteria, right? Before we went on break.
That's the one I'm talking about. You keep talking. I'm going to turn on this light.
All right. Yeah. Remember is probably a strong word. I feel like actually remembering them might be tough to do because I can only imagine what we got into before we got there. So actually remembering them might be tough, but I certainly remember them happening.
They were a good time. They were a very, very good time.
They were a good time. I think as most things that happen in public settings, a lot of them, I remember a lot of Phil embarrassing us and or everyone in the cafeteria for some reason or another.
I remember we used to get dressed up.
Yes.
We wore shirts and ties and we didn't have to.
Yep.
But we decided that it was the right move.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'm going to give you what's the fair number? 5 things to put on your plate. You can only have 5.
Yep.
Okay. So what are the 5 items that you are without a doubt putting on your Thanksgiving plate? If you could only have that plate for the rest of your life, what are the 5 items?
Dark meat turkey with some crispy skin.
Gotcha.
I feel like that's one because they come from the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
That's one. Sweet potato casserole with like the marshmallows on top.
Okay.
Stuffing.
Okay.
Cranberry sauce.
Okay.
My dad's rolls that he makes for every Thanksgiving.
There was no hesitation.
No.
Okay. All right. So mine would be dark meat turkey with crispy skin. Feels like that needed to happen.
So good.
It had to happen. Stuffing. Mashed potatoes.
Yep.
Green beans. And this is not on the plate, but it's part of the meal. My mom makes Italian wedding soup.
Oh, okay.
Every Thanksgiving, it's the only Italian wedding soup I make. That I eat. It's got the broth, right? It's got some guts in it. So like meatballs, pasta, spinach. It is freaking unreal. Like it's its own like part of Thanksgiving dinner. Like it gets its own course. We basically go salad, shrimp, Italian wedding soup, main course.
There you go.
So the Italian wedding soup gets its own course. I usually have 2 bowls and then one after my main course plate. Because I don't get Italian wedding soup anywhere else.
I love it.
Because she nails it. So that would be my number 5. It doesn't go on the plate, so it might be cheating.
I don't think so.
But
I think we can accept that.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I do. I appreciate it. But did you have a good Thanksgiving? Did you enjoy it? Everybody was at your end?
We did. We've been hosting for several years now, even at the old house.
Okay.
So this year we had my parents and my brother. And then we usually have my wife's uncle and his entire family who comes up from Annapolis. So yeah, her mom, we had a good time. Everyone survived, everything was out and hot and ready to eat at the right time. The kids weren't too crazy. Yeah, it was a good time. I think everybody had some fun.
All right. I like it.
And then, we inevitably are up too early and then stay up too late because my wife has to have everything put back together after everyone leaves. So there's no like leaving things. There's no
Right.
leaving things around. It's
Right.
nope, that table we brought it from the basement has to go away, all the chairs.
Everything's
The house
gotta be
has to
alive.
be reset before we go to bed.
Yep.
So we
Yep.
we slept till like 10 o'clock today. We were pretty tired.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it was one of the few days we had nothing going on.
Do you remember in college I would talk about the like high school football game that like okay, so this was the 117th or 18th year, one of those two, consecutively that they've played this game
Yeah.
on Thanksgiving. Right? So we watch it. We don't go anymore. Like we're all kind of like, we don't have to go. It's on TV. It's good coverage. So we typically just watch it at either my parents' house or my uncle's house. And this year, both teams were very good. Like the last couple of years, the team from Jersey has been like exponentially better. This year was a fantastic matchup. So Easton, the team from Pennsylvania, just got eliminated out of the state playoffs like a round or two ago. And Peaburg, the team from Jersey, is playing in their state title game next Wednesday. So they're both very competitive.
Yeah.
Peaburg like jumped out in the first half to a 14-0 lead. Right before half, Easton got the ball all the way down to like the 5. Got stopped, went to kick a field goal, hit it off the upright. Keep that in mind. In the second half, Easton like took over completely. Defensive stops, scored twice, 14-14, went to overtime. Peaburg gets the ball first in overtime. It's college rules, but you get the ball from the 10.
Okay.
So it's first and goal from the 10 to start. Peaburg goes 3 and out, kicks a field goal, misses it.
Oh, man.
Easton goes 3 and out, bring the field goal kicker out. The announcer says that the kid is 0 for 3 this year, including today's kick. Kid hasn't made a field goal all year. He's made extra points, but not a field goal all year. Bangs it dead down the middle. And all I could think the rest of the day is like, this guy got like 10 times more attractive to every girl in the school.
Yeah.
Because this is such a huge rivalry. It means everything to these two teams. And it's so funny because, like my dad said when we were eating dinner, Peaburg has a state championship game to play in like 5-6 days. And they probably today don't care at all. All they can think about is that they lost to Easton. That's how big this game is. Like it means more to these guys than a state title game does.
That's wild.
So like this kid is living the life.
He is living the life.
All I could think about is how many snaps were on this kid's Snapchat today. So good for you, bud. That is awesome. So in the spirit of things, Regz, I thought I'd ask, like, we could just kind of go back and forth with this. Not a draft, but with it being the season of gratitude, Philly athletes that you're thankful for, or Philly coaches, whatever you want them to be. I certainly, I'm going to put the caveat on that we can't repeat. We can echo, but as we go back and forth, we're not going to repeat. I'll give you the start, and certainly, you know, whoever you like to say thanks, we'll just go back and forth, maybe 4 or 5 each. And
I'm going to take an obvious one to both of us, but it's going to be Bryce Harper.
Yeah. Any specific reason that you want to shout besides the fact that his name's Bryce Harper?
I think truly his signing made the Phillies relevant again. And I can appreciate so much because it was right at the time that my boys wanted to start watching baseball, or I was trying to get them into baseball. And like I said, I never thought my kid's favorite player would be Bryce Harper, knowing the relationship that I had with Bryce Harper for most of his career. And just what he's done to make this place. Like, look, say what you will about the exits and things like that, but this team has been on an upward trajectory after over a decade of not making the playoffs. And so, I'm thankful that he kind of put Philly back on the baseball map as a place that people would want to come and fight for a championship.
I love it. Yeah, in that same vein, I'm saying Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
There was a poll WIP put out this week, and it just blows my mind how dumb Philly sports fans are sometimes. And I say that being a Philly sports podcast, so we're probably going to lose some listeners. But the choices were, it was like Barkley, Bryce, Zach, and I forget the fourth. I can't remember who it was. I think it was another Eagle. Actually, I think it was Mishkov. But I don't know that he counts as a free agent. I'd have to look back and see. But whoever the fourth was, not even close. But the winner was Bryce. And look, I agree with you and with everything you just said about Bryce Harper. But when I think about best free agent acquisitions, I'm not thinking just like name, even simple performance. Because if you look at it on a base value, like, yes, Bryce plays every day, and clearly that his performance means more to the team on a day-to-day basis. But off of what they got Zach Wheeler for when they signed him, it was peanuts on the starting pitching market, to the point where we were all like, "Oh God, this is it." We all wanted Steven Strasburg, and they signed Zach Wheeler, and Wheeler has been unbelievable across the board. One of the best, not just pitchers in baseball, not just right-handed pitchers in baseball, but pitchers in baseball, period, since they signed him. Arguably, historically, a top 10 playoff postseason pitcher, like, in the game. It feels like every time he goes out there, it's Zach Day. Here we go. So for me, I am so grateful for Zach Wheeler, and all I want is that guy to have a World Series trophy. I know we want that for Bryce.
Yeah.
I might want it a little bit more for Zach, because Bryce has had his warts in the postseason the last couple of years. Zach has not.
Yeah.
Zach has not had warts.
In
any of these three postseasons, when Zach Wheeler had the ball, the Phillies were in the game.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. We were all convinced if they won game 4 in New York, they weren't losing game 5 in Philly because of Zach Wheeler. That he was not going to let them lose that game. And that just speaks to the confidence the city has in 45.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for Zach Wheeler.
It's a great choice. I agree with everything you said. I think the reason he doesn't do well in like these public polls is because that's such a subtle baseball answer. You know what I mean? That's not a mainstream answer. Zach Wheeler is not a mainstream answer.
Right.
But if you truly understand what matters in baseball and matters to winning teams, having an ace like that might be one of the most important things you can have on a baseball team.
Right.
To build around. He can't do it by himself. We've seen plenty of great pitchers be on terrible teams.
Yeah.
But as a compliment to filling out the rest of your roster with talent, it's just, you can't undervalue that.
No, that contract was unreal.
Yeah.
All right, who else you got?
I'm going to go Lane Johnson.
That's a really good one.
I'm not sure we can underestimate the value that having just an unbeatable right tackle in the NFL.
That's really good.
It's just, look at the teams that are out there.
Yeah.
Look at Kansas City tonight and what Max Crosby was doing to that offensive line. You know what they would have done with Max Crosby? They would have lined him up on Jordan Mailata, because he would have been like, I don't want to go against that guy. I play every snap. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Because he's that good, and he's been doing it for a long time, and has stepped into, a subtle, not a subtle, but a non-public leadership role for a long time. And he's just the man, and he just continues to be all worldly at a position that, to have somebody lock it down for this extended period of time is unreal. and be willing to rework his contract and like be a team player and all the things that we know he does. That guy's unreal. Just unreal.
That's a really good one. I think Lane will Lane has never been as appreciated as he should be. You put it perfectly. Like, this is a guy who when he doesn't play, they don't win.
Yeah.
This is a guy who teams are like, "Oh, well, I'm excited to see what like the Steelers do with JJ Watt. Like, are they going to try it?
Yeah.
Or are they going to try Jordan Mailata? Which, by the way, isn't that much better.
I'm not dissing Jordan Mailata by any means, but like,
I know you're not, but that's the point of how good they are.
For people to want to not face him so much that they now want to go and Jordan Mailata, who is also very good. It's like, that's how good he is.
Yeah, Lane's a great pick. All right, so I'm gonna go out sort of both sides of my mouth here. Because I just I don't think I talked poorly on him at all. I just picked someone else over him. But I'm absolutely saying Saquon Barkley. Like, what are we talking about? This has been truly outside of like Nick Foles playing basically like God.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks. And maybe Lane Johnson being Lane Johnson at a position that doesn't get the attention.
But is a premier position in the NFL.
It is, but it doesn't get.
No, absolutely not. It's not a glamorous position, but it is a premier position of value.
Outside of those two being as good as they are and were in those moments, this is the best stretch of football I've ever watched a guy have. And we're going to talk more about it when we get into this week's game, but I'm so grateful. For years we've been like, well, any running back can run behind this line. We just plug anybody in there and it's fine. And while that's true, you're seeing what like an elite running back can do behind this line. It is incredible what he's doing. It's sort of like what we hoped DeMarco Murray would be when we brought him here is what Saquon is. And we're going to talk more about it. I'm not going to go crazy because we're going to talk more about what he did against the Rams, which is fully encompasses what he's done this year.
Yeah.
But I'm very thankful that Saquon Barkley wears midnight green.
Fully agree. Yeah. My third, and I'm not putting these in any sort of rank. I just think he deserves to be mentioned. And I think you would mention him, but I just want to, I need to put him in here. Tyrese Maxey. I think we truly have a guy who could change the culture of the Sixers. I think the joy he plays with, the competitiveness that he brings, his ability to not be afraid of the moment or afraid to speak up and be truthful, whether it's internally or even with the media. He's very honest. Coming out of what we know about the Sixers and how things are going right now, I think this guy truly has the ability to like force this team to change. And I'm thankful for that because I think everybody is ready for it. Everybody's ready for the culture of this team to change. And I truly think this guy can do it.
Yeah, he was going to be on mine. There's no doubt. Got to be grateful for him. I don't think there's any question how lucky we are to have him. So yeah, 100% agree. Energizer Bunny, we'll call him. I'm gonna say it now. I was gonna save it for last, but I'll say it now because I was gonna say Maxey here, so I gotta think of we'll go with 4. Brandon Graham. It is so rare in any sport, and look, we've had 4 of them now. Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, now BG, who will play their whole career. What happened to BG is awful.
Yeah.
Do I think he's done? No. There's no way BG is done.
Yeah.
Vic Fangio is not going to let it happen.
And I think he wants to go out there like at the end of a season, not because of an injury. He doesn't want to go out that way.
Well, it would have been one hell of a way to go out. That game.
Well, that's very true.
He played. Holy crap! He was incredible.
I think we all know that he.
Yeah. But I mean, look, biggest play in franchise history.
Yep.
From the guy who was like this close to being cut.
Mm-hmm.
This close to being cut. And because of an injury to a guy that no one even remembers stayed on the roster and became one of the greatest Eagles ever. Now, look, Brandon Graham is not this like he's not Fletcher Cox. Like, he's just not.
Yeah.
But what he is incredibly consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you a ton of, I mean, the dude was at 37 years old, was playing almost 50% of the snaps.
Yeah.
And not at like, oh, there's Brandon.
He's just out there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the dude was making plays. He changed the Rams game.
Yeah.
3 different times. So BG.
It's a great one.
One more each.
Yeah. This one's tough. My last one. Oh man, it's such a toss up.
Doesn't have to be an athlete.
I know. It's such a toss up because I have like 4 different things. I have 4 different people I'd like to say.
You can give honorable mentions.
Yeah, that I'll give them in a second. I'm just thinking about who do I really want to choose. All right. I think I'm going to leave the others for honorable mentions. I'm thankful for Jeff Stoutland.
That's a good one.
I just think offensive line play is such an important part of the NFL. And to have a team that can consistently put a product on the field that is so well above the average NFL starting offensive line, regardless of who might be in there, backups, Hall of Fame players. And he's also the run game coordinator. And like you said, this O-line has been able to support not premier running backs for a very long time and make those guys have career years. I just think it's just so important what he does, and to have a coach that does it that well for so long is just a massively valuable part of an organization.
Yeah, it's a really good one, and it actually was on my list as possible to say. So I'm glad that you said it. I'm gonna say Rob Thompson.
He was one of the ones I was just thinking about.
Like, when I think back to 2022, at the end of May, we were ready to quit. And then he became the manager.
Mm-hmm.
And look what's happened since. And I know we don't have the World Series title to go along with it, but baseball has been fun the last 2.5 seasons. I believe in Topper. I still think they can win a championship with him. But if I'm going off of today, I'm very grateful that Rob Thompson's the manager of the Phils.
Mm-hmm.
So, who do you want to mention in honorable mention?
My honorable mentions are the 2 best owners in the city.
Yeah, I have them both.
Jeffrey Lurie and John Middleton.
Yeah, I have them both down too. I also have Howie down.
Yep.
I have Howie down. I put Dave with a question mark. It's pending this offseason.
Yeah, fair.
I'm not totally grateful for
Yeah.
Dave right now, but
Fair.
we'll see what happens. I'm grateful for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful for Zach Bond.
Yeah.
Those three guys have totally changed the trajectory of the Eagles defense. So I'm very grateful for the three of them. And we'll continue to be grateful for the three of them, hopefully for like the next 3 years.
Yeah. Great choice.
As long as they can extend Bond. So, all right. Well, let's jump into the meat of the show and talk about why the Phillies are morons. So, look, I've dedicated the last 3 episodes to a perfect offseason. And in all 3 off seasons, Juan Soto was a Philly. At no point, Regs, did I say he was going to be or that I fully expected him to be.
Mm-hmm.
What I expected was that the Phillies were going to recognize their faults, recognize his strengths, and at least show the interest and cognizance that this guy belongs in Philadelphia. If they lost the race for him, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But to not enter the stable
Yeah.
is an absolute embarrassment. This is a team that sells out every day. $25 per car to park at that stadium. $19 for a damn cheesesteak. $17 for a premium beer. $14 for a Miller Lite. A goddamn t-shirt's $40. If I want an icy, it's $7. A soda is $9. Chicken tenders and fries is $13 and I get 3 chicken tenders. And you're going to tell me you don't have enough money to sign Juan Soto? Or talk to him? Sorry, don't buy it. I don't. Look, if you're going to lose because someone else is going to offer $650 million, so be it. But if you can't get in a conversation at 575 for literally a generational hitter who solves your most pressing need, then I don't trust you. I know that you've invested in Trey Turner and Bryce Harper. I know that you've invested in JT, who's coming off the books next year, and Nick Castellanos is coming off, and Kyle Schwarber is coming off next year. I get all that. But all those guys are half of the reason that we need. So, like, if you aren't going to be able to look in the mirror and we've screwed up, we need to balance this lineup out, and he's the best way to do it, then I can't trust you. I can't. I've already said that I'm not going to do well if this team kind of stays status quo. I'm going to do far less well if they're not even going to make an effort at the one guy they need to make an effort. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, so I don't have much to add other than there better be a really good explanation. Because like you said, just the sheer explanation of it's too much money is null and void. It's not I don't accept, I guess is what I can say. I don't accept. I understand that you might lose, but to be the one team who all they talk about is getting their trophy back and then just to sit this one out is inexcusable. It's simply inexcusable. Even if you just like went through the bells and whistles and then made a $500 million offer, you know he's not going to take, everyone would be fine with it. Everyone. No Phillies fan, like no true Phillies fan, is going to jump on an ownership that does that. But you can't sit it out. That's negligence.
Yep.
And is unacceptable.
We've lost out on guys. We have.
Yep.
We've lost out on players. I mean, look, last year we were all good sitting out and running it back. We were fine with that. We didn't complain that they didn't go and sign anybody not named Whit Merrifield.
Right.
That they only extended Wheeler and Nola. We were good with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made every excuse in my own head this year as to why they're not entertaining this. Actually, no, that's not true. I've made every reasonable conversation happen about, no, I don't necessarily believe that they're not in. And now I actually believe that they might not be in.
I know.
I seeing that, I'm seeing a lot of things about the Red Sox right now and these offers that the Red Sox are putting out there, and the Yankees are upping their offer, and it doesn't mean that the Phillies are out. It means, other teams are putting the full court press on. But the longer it takes for the Phillies to meet, the less convinced I am that they're actually involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
And that they are just a stalking horse. Just kind of hanging on the periphery, saying, too rich for our blood. Well, no, sorry.
Yeah.
And I look at the payrolls in baseball, and I see where they sit. They're second to the Dodgers, whose payroll should be a lot more, but found the loophole that no one else wants to use.
But apparently won't have a baseball team in 5 years because they won't have the money for it.
They when they sell this team, I don't know who's buying it.
That's what I mean.
It's gonna go under.
Yeah.
But look, they have a window and they're doing what they can to win. But the Phillies wouldn't even have to do the deferred stuff because they have $40 million coming off the books next year. Soto's contract would be basically paid for with Kyle and JT coming off the books.
Yeah.
It would be paid for. So I'm not quite understanding why this is you go over the tax for a year and you deal with the repercussions for 1 year. And then it's all good.
Yeah.
Because he's opting out in the 4th year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's baffling to me that they're not involved.
Yeah.
And I hope that this is pie in the face in 2 weeks, and that we are proven wrong. Even if they don't sign him, that it is announced that they met with him, they offered him. I hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like they are actually involved in this at all.
Yeah.
It feels like they're just kind of trusting, well, Scott knows us, so we don't have to meet with him. We're just going to see what the money is, and we'll make our best offer.
Yeah, right.
If he doesn't want to come, fine. No.
Right.
So that kind of leads me to this. What is the best case scenario without him? They have a clear hole in the outfield. They seem content with moving forward with Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas playing center field.
Mm-hmm.
They seem fine with that. So what is best case scenario? I'm going to ask you first, and I kind of have a mindset on what it is, but I'm curious because I've given my ideas. But from your perspective, you can't do it all over again.
Yeah.
So what is it?
I think it has to be something like that Hassan Kim, Jerks and Profar off season that you talked about maybe in one of your first ones. it's got to be changing. It's got to be getting guys that have an offensive approach that you're preaching. Because everyone else has to change what they're doing. Everyone else right now has to change what they're doing in order to fit this model. Maybe outside of one or two guys. Those guys have what you're talking about. And if you're truly making that a priority, then you have to get guys that just naturally do that and have that ability. And then outside of that, it would be shoring up the pitching as much as humanly possible. But I just think you have to turn the pieces you're looking for into guys that don't have to try and have the approach that you're looking for, but have it and can prove to the other guys on the team that this is the way it should be handled.
Yeah. So here's where I'm at. And let me put it this way. I'm gonna ask you this. As much as we want Juan Soto, if you get Juan Soto, I don't know how much else you can do, right?
Yeah.
Like if you get Soto, you can trade for a pitcher, reliever, so on and so forth. I've done the multiple off season. You're probably looking at a third baseman like Gio Urshela.
Yeah.
At that point, right? So, what is better in totality? Is it getting a generational talent like Soto to help you build your core moving forward? Or is some combination of Crochet, Santander, or Hernandez, and one of Adames, Bregman, Kim? You can throw Profar in that outfield combination if you want. I think like when I look at it that way, the latter is better, right? Like you get a top tier starting pitcher. In this scenario, you're trading Bohm.
Yeah.
Which I think is gonna happen because he's gonna have to go in some sort of way to get Crochet here.
Yeah.
So you're replacing Bohm with one of I don't like Adames problem that we had.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you say Bregman or Kim is your third baseman, you can deal with Santander and Hernandez. They're both more of the problem that you have. But Bregman and Kim give you less of that, right? Santander can hit 40 home runs. And he can hit behind Bryce because he's a switch hitter. So you could be looking at a scenario where you have Schwarber, Bregman, Harper, Santander. It's actually pretty formidable.
Yeah.
Right? With Castellanos hitting behind Santander. So that's pretty formidable in terms of a 1 through 5. And you don't feel badly about what that looks like. Plus, you have Garrett Crochet pitching behind Zach Wheeler. So, in totality, it looks better. And this is aside from they're getting at least 2 relief pitchers.
Right.
So, I guess, like, in that sense, and I'm assuming you agree, getting a package of guys versus trading for a starter, getting Soto, and like the bottom tier of third baseman. I guess it's better.
I think it's tough. I think ultimately, yes, I do agree with you. I think that we also know the money coming off the books. And I guess if you also factor in that Juan Soto is really kind of out in 3 years, or, 4 years with an opt-out, that might make a difference. And again, I don't think any of us went into this thinking we're going to get Juan Soto. I don't think that's the thing. So I think that's why also the second scenario is what we would agree on would be the better solution. I think, yes, for the team as is, with the guys that you have coming up, the second scenario you laid out is better.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's also with the caveat that you tried for Juan Soto. Like that you tried. We all get it. We know no one is going to be mad if the Phillies don't get Juan Soto. I'm going to be pretty pissed if the Mets do, just because I don't want to face that guy that many times. And I already know that it's going to be a thing.
He makes them so much better.
I know, which is what I hate.
Like imagine Lindor, Vientos, and Soto.
I know. It's terrifying. I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's terrible to think about. The ideal scenario is him going to Boston.
Yeah, or just stay with the Yankees.
Nope.
I don't
going
care.
To Boston. Nope. Going to Boston.
That's fine. Anything that isn't some team in our division is fine.
I mean, like in the grand scheme, the ranking of worst case scenarios to best. Let's do best to worst. The Blue Jays are best case scenario.
Yes.
The Red Sox are that next.
Yes.
The Yankees are after that. The Dodgers are after that. And the Mets are after that.
Yes.
There's your ranking.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Regz. Like I think, yes, I just want to know they tried. In the same sense, like if the Phillies come out of this offseason with Devin Williams, Garrett Crochet, Alex Bregman, and Santander, Anthony Santander, I think we're actually going to be 3.
Yeah, I think I don't think you can say it's bad because pitching, like we saw what pitching did. I think I'd still be a little concerned. Not concerned. I think I'd be still a little concerned about the offense. I don't think Bregman fixes it by himself. I still think maybe adding somebody in the outfield who has the similar kind of profile of Bregman and how they just don't swing at balls and they have better at bats. I think it's really important that they add more than one guy that can do that. But we've seen like pitching is still unbelievably important and will continue to be. And Crochet is a guy that you can take into the non-Zach Wheeler era of this team. Like we know Zach has said, this is my last contract. Like this is it.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he's done, we're searching for an ace. And if we've already got that guy waiting in the wings, going into his year, 29 season, then you're in a great spot.
You basically go from Wheeler Nola to Crochet Painter.
Yeah.
With Sanchez staying in the mix the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an ideal scenario.
Yeah.
And look, Santander he's a big swing and miss guy too. So Bregman doesn't fix all your problems.
Yeah.
But at the top of the order, he fixes a lot.
Yes.
Because what he allows you to do is say, Trey, until you can figure out how to be a top of the order guy, we're going to hit Kyle and Bregman 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to put a lot of pressure on pitchers with Bryce behind him. And Santander hits 40, 45 home runs. And the other thing that I like about Santander, I'm starting to fall a little bit in love too much. And the reason why is because with Kyle leaving, he allows them to have a DH in the wings.
Yeah.
Where Trey can move to the outfield and Aiden Miller can play shorts. And Bregman can stay at third.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're thinking in that regard too. So you don't lose the power part during the regular season.
Yeah.
And I think your hope is at that point, you can figure out maybe Stott can find his way back into that, like, I can be a leadoff guy approach. But honestly, when you think about that lineup, and let's pretend it's Santander and Bregman. Okay. Schwarber, Bregman, Harper, Santander, Castellanos, Stott, Real Muto, Marsh. Who did I miss?
You missed Trey.
Sorry. Rewind. Trey, Real Muto, Marsh, and now who did I miss? Gosh, I can't think about
Whoever the left fielder is. Oh no, that's Santander.
Santander. So maybe then Marsh is hitting 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that matches up with pretty much anybody in the National League. Unless the Dodgers sign Soto.
Yeah.
And if Crochet's in your rotation, like, your rotation is the
It's still
best in the
really
National
good.
League, maybe
Yeah.
except for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And I'd put them up against the Dodgers if they're healthy.
Right.
But
That's
the Dodgers
the
are never
key.
the
Yeah.
Dodgers are never healthy.
Yeah.
So that lineup stacks. It stacks up. Does it fix everything? No, but it's really hard to find multiple guys who do what the Phillies need them to do. And you just hope that certain guys make adjustments. If Bryson Stott becomes Bryson Stott,
Well, yeah.
then you've got 5 guys who do it.
Yeah.
And that's enough. But, we'll see. I'm very curious as to how this offseason plays out. But I do believe that one of their outfielders will be Profar, Santander, or Teoscar Hernandez. We'll just have to wait and see which one.
Yeah.
All right, ready for the Eagles?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with prediction review into our game-by-game matchup, okay?
Yep.
And then I have a question that I want to ask you. Well, no, we'll do the Rams. Question I want to ask Ravens.
Got it.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right. So let's start here with the predictions for this year's Eagles. My prediction for this year's Eagles. Still not really able to answer this question, but Tanner McKee, the backup. We don't know. I don't want to know. I have no interest in knowing, Regz. So let's jump into the next one. Jalen Carter, first team All-Pro. Looks very possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that looks...
Yeah.
This dude is unbelievable.
And now with Dexter Lawrence out for the rest of the year.
Yeah. It might happen. All right. Next one. Jahan Dotson. 650 yards receiving.
It's gonna be
a no.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
He's got 110. So it's gonna be a no. Saquon Barkley, 1,500 total yards. It's already
I was about to say, I think we're already done with that.
already taken care of. He's at 1,600 already. Josh Huff. I did it again.
You did.
Bryce
You
Huff
did it again.
and Josh Sweat. Total for 19 and a half sacks. How many do you think they have?
8.
So Sweat alone has 7. Josh Huff has 2.5. They're at 9.5.
You said it again.
Damn it. Bryce Huff has 2.5. They're at 9.5. I don't think they're going to get to 19.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Because Bryce Huff's on the IR.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's likely not happening.
Not helpful.
Quignon and Cooper over 5.5 picks.
I mean,
Still-
maybe, It's not
No.
impossible.
No. I mean, they're gonna have to like both have won the next 3 weeks.
How many weeks are left?
5, 6,
All right.
6.
It's not impossible that.
Well, they're not gonna get Lamar twice.
No, I just mean between the two of them, they could get one apiece.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like it's not gonna happen this week. Could happen against the Steelers because of the way that
Mm-hmm.
the
Russell
way that
just
Russell
throws
throws
it
the
up there.
ball.
Yeah.
Could happen against Carolina.
And then it's terrible quarterbacks from then on in. Like
Carolina, it's Carolina's a decent quarterback. He's just in a bad situation. But then it's Cooper Rush. Jaden Daniels isn't bad.
no,
And who the hell knows with the Giants?
it's
and
not.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't even know if Quinyon and Cooper will be playing.
it's not
every game.
impossible.
No. Linebackers best since TJ Edwards. It's already yes.
I was about to say.
Yes. 6-0 in the division.
Still a thing.
It's still a thing.
Still a thing.
Super Bowl.
Still a possibility for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. The 10-1 start, so close. If Saquon doesn't drop that ball,
Mm-hmm.
so close. They'd be 10-1 today.
Yep.
10-1 today. All right, this one I have to do the math real. I said that Devontae and AJ would combine for 2,300 yards. They are at 1,243. They need 1,100 between the two of them. They've been banged up.
Yeah.
They both missed, I think it combined 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
That is really
Yeah,
hurt.
it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. It's amazing what AJ has done.
Oh, yeah.
39 receptions for almost 750 yards. Like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not... Well, and I also said Hurts is going to have... I said Hurts will have 800 rushing yards. Ooh. Interesting. 460.
Not impossible.
Interesting.
Not impossible.
Okay. This might be my best year. Like, in terms of accuracy,
It might be.
it's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
All right. And then our predictions, we did the game by game, points on every game. We got 17 points to place. When we last checked in, it was 55-50 Regz. That was the Cincinnati game. Regz and I both picked the Jags. He had 11, I had 10. So he still remained like 3 points ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Which ironically ended up tied because I took Dallas for 1 with a win. He took Dallas at 4 with a loss.
It's a very different, very different Dallas team we were talking about.
We tied. We are tied at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So 66-66 out of the Dallas game. This is where the tide turned though. Regz took the Eagles to win against Washington. So did I. But he put 12 points on it. So he went up 8 after that. 78 to 60 something. I'm not doing the math right now. Anyway, he went up 8. And then we both took the Rams as a loss. That was my 8-point game, his 5-point game. Here's where it gets interesting. I took this week as my mulligan. So I have 13 points on the Eagles losing. However, if they win, I get that 13 points anyway. Regz, I believe, I have to go back and look at our points, but I believe Regz
I had a loss.
Has a loss.
But not as many points. It's very much like the Commander situation.
Yeah, but I think it might actually end up putting me... Here it is. We both have 13. So if they lose, we wash.
Yeah, if they win though,
If they win, it's like
you
a
got a big
26 point
boost. Yeah, it's a
swing.
big jump.
It's a big jump because the following week we both have 17 on a win with the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the swing would come with the Steelers, although we both have a win there. And I have 11, you have 2.
Right.
So it wouldn't make a difference. We actually go the rest of the way with the same win-loss pick. We have wins the rest of the way. The big difference after this week is you have the Giants in week 18 at 16 points.
Yeah.
I have 2.
Yeah.
And that game might not mean
It
anything.
might not mean anything. The
So
Giants might
keep
be
an
bad
eye.
enough to lose to our backups, though.
It's true.
Especially with
If-
Dexter Lawrence out now.
If the Eagles play Tanner McKee.
Yes.
And keep in mind that the Giants will be playing for that pick.
Right. They want to lose.
They
You would
want to
assume.
lose.
Yeah.
Right now, after today, that first overall pick belongs to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. All right. Let's jump back into the rest of this episode. Last week's Rams game.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley. There's your recap.
Saquon!
Saquon. There's your recap. No, in all seriousness, kudos to the Eagles defense.
Yes.
Vic Fangio continues to find ways to adjust. Look, we knew this was going to be a little bit more of a taxing effort for the second.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua is so good.
He is very good.
Holy crap, that dude is good.
Yeah.
The Rams got some gifts with some PI calls.
Yes. Some very ticky-tack stuff.
Yeah, that set them up nicely for scoring drives. Both of their touchdown drives came as a result of some garbage PI. That being said, there is a concern about how this team came around. It felt like Brandon Graham gave them the spark. I don't know what's going to come
Yeah.
now that he's gone. Now, look, Jalen Carter is still going to be Jalen Carter. Milton Williams was also fantastic.
Had a great game.
I do like what Vic said about I'm not going to weaken 2 spots in our defense to fix 1.
Yeah.
So I had texted you and said Zach Bond's going to get
Mm-hmm.
some snaps. It doesn't appear as though he is. And
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of it. It's sort of like, we talk about this sometimes in baseball even, where, Bryce goes out for 10 days and now we're going to move Alec to first,
Right.
which defensively gets a little worse,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Cody's going to play third or Weston Wilson's going to play third. Now 2 defensive spots on there.
Yeah.
I like that they're not considering that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna let it play out. They went and got a couple of guys, one's picked on the practice squad. KJ Wilson, is that his name? From the Commanders. And then they picked the dude up off the Panthers who's right on the 50.
Yep.
He's 3.5 sacks this year. I think his best year was a 7.5 sack season. He's playing for a bad Panthers team, and now he's coming to Philly. He's not going to play. I mean, what's going to happen is that a bulk of the Brandon Graham snaps are going to go to Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith.
Right.
They're going to need those 2 guys to step up. Plain and simple. Josh Sweat's going to get his snaps. When Bryce Huff comes back, he's going to pick up some of those snaps. But they're going to need Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt to pick up the slack a little bit. I believe Nolan Smith can. I don't not believe in Jalix Hunt, but he has like no experience. It's unfair.
Yeah, it's a
to
tough
to
it's a tough comparison.
It's a tough situation for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your concern level is there. I trust Vic to find ways around it. I wish the Ravens weren't the first
Well, yeah, sure.
team that the scenario is happening.
Yeah. And I think the reason
felt like go ahead.
I think the reason we feel so concerned is because of Brandon was playing because of his ability to not get beat, like not setting an edge, to recognize run versus pass, to be in the proper position to make a play. And then when it was time to pin your ears back, he was one of their most effective pass rushers.
Yeah.
And proved it this week with his literally having a dominant performance.
Mm-hmm. Recency bias a little bit.
Sure. But when we talk about a 37-year-old and how his plays impacted the game, like that tackle for loss and that sack and, his other sack, like were huge plays in that game where the Rams could have like made it closer or could have potentially kept drives going. So I think my biggest concern is that I think Nolan Smith has been playing very well this season. I would hope that it seems like when Jalix plays, he's very aware of not getting over pursued, like not over pursuing. So I don't think he really is like pinning his ears back a lot. He's very aware that he has to recognize what's going on and be in the right position to make the play. It just puts more pressure on your back seven. And look, Zach Vaughn and Kobe Dean have been playing extremely well. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper. I mean, look, Darius Slay probably isn't playing this game also. So it's probably Isaiah Rodgers.
He's not playing. He's out.
Yeah, thank you. The injury report came out today. You're right.
Yeah.
So it's Isaiah Rodgers now and not Darius Slay. We saw how the Rams kind of picked on Isaiah when he came in. Look, again, he's coming in off of somebody getting hurt, so it's a difficult position.
Also, very different skill position players.
Sure. You wonder if maybe Zay Flowers kind of follows him, though?
Well,
or they purposefully...
It's one side of the field.
Yeah.
I don't know what Zay does in turn. I'm going to have to listen to the professor and find out what side Zay
I think he moves around a decent amount.
So do I. I don't think they're very much like the Commanders.
No, I think he moves all over the place.
Yeah.
So look, it is putting more pressure on those guys. And look, for as much as I think, if you want to be realistic, for as good as those guys have played, for as much as this defense has been communicating and talking and working well together, this is a very good offense. This is the best offense they are going to play. This is the biggest. This is the biggest ask this defense is going to have this season.
Yep.
And when we get to predictions and things like that, we'll talk about it. But I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to hold the Ravens to nothing. But I just think it puts a lot of pressure on these guys. And for as good as they're playing, they are still rookies. And they are still guys who maybe haven't played in a while, like Isaiah Rodgers. So usually when you put more and more pressure on those kinds of guys, it becomes tough. Look, they have responded to every question that they've been asked this season, and more power to them. Like they deserve all the kudos that they are getting. It's a really tough test. It's a really tough test this week.
Yeah. I went and found the name. It's Charles Harris, who's replacing Brandon. I didn't want to go the rest of the show without.
I couldn't remember either. So
name.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but he's a veteran, right? Like he's a first round pick who, is 29. It's not like this dude is like ancient.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be able to play you, for lack of a better term, big league snaps at an important time of the year. I think, and Carolina makes sense for Carolina. This is like, I'd rather a guy who is a veteran who's cut from a team who has no chance to win, and they're basically cutting him to say, maybe you can go win somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I'd prefer that over the guy who's like just sitting at his house. Right?
Yeah, sure. I agree with that.
Now, that being
Absolutely.
said, if Shaq Barrett came free, I'm not gonna get mad. If that's the guy they go and get.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there is credence to this is a dude who had 7.5 sacks like 2 years ago. Like, he's not a bum.
Mm-hmm.
He's still got juice. It's just it's a young team who's not winning anything.
Yeah.
So they cut him loose to try out some other guys to see what's available. So but going back to this Rams game, the defense was still really elite. Like Cooper DeJean, like Cooper Kupp's still really good at football.
Yeah.
And didn't do a whole lot. Like, he didn't do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
The touchdown at the end of the game was more so it was Quinyon not being used to the guys he was on the field with more than anything. The offense, yes, it was slow. It did not get off to a good start again. However, it did move the length of the field. They stalled and kicked a field goal. They need to start converting
Yeah.
in the red zone, first and goals. Like they need to remember they can throw the ball when they're down.
Yeah.
First and goal.
Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like every time they get inside the 10, all they want to do is run it to the point where they can run the tush push.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do.
Yeah, like Dallas Goedert still exists.
Yes, but so does AJ Brown.
Well, that's what I mean, right? All those guys, yeah.
Like they remembered at one point, oh yeah, we can throw the ball, and AJ caught that ball like in the corner of the end zone. It was a beautiful throw by Jalen.
Yeah,
like beautiful. They need to remember that that's available to them. They have so many big bodies, and like let's not forget that like Devontae plays big down there, and it looks like he's going to be available this week. Like Johnny Wilson's a big body. Dallas Goedert's a big body. Grant Calcaterra's a big body. Saquon down there is in the pass game is a weapon. Goddard, Brown, like just like there's so many dudes.
Right.
Can give
you
the
just
ball
have to keep
to
all
them.
the options open, and
That's where I'm struggling right now.
Yeah.
Like I love that they have the home run ball sake, because here's the difference between this year's team and even 22. That team, Miles Sanders, got benched in the Super Bowl. You can bet your ass Saquon Barkley's not getting benched in the Super Bowl.
yeah, right.
When this team has a lead in the second half, it's going to be very tough to beat them because they're going to wear you down.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, and there was a great like clip of Cam Jurgens saying to Saquon, I told you were going to break one. I told you. And when you watch you can watch a TV tape back and see it. They ran that play 3 times. The first 2, once he got bottled, and he got like 3 out of it. Once I don't know if it was the first or second time. I can't remember the order. But either the first or second time, he went for 12.
Yeah.
And they tripped him up. And then he broke it at a half. This offensive line will kill your will.
Can we talk about that jump cut he made on that play?
And he never broke speed.
That I've gone back and watched it 20 times. It's unreal the distance he covers in that jump cut. And even if Covey doesn't come in and like absolutely pin that guy, that safety is diving headfirst into the ground.
What a block.
And completely whiffs on Saquon because of how he plants his foot and is just gone.
But like even like so that was a great block, and I want to credit that. I want to credit the jump block.
Mm-hmm.
But even like Cam Jurgens in the second level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And on his other breakaway run, the pull from Mekhi Becton, when Calcaterra pulls and turns his guy inside, Becton's supposed to do that, but ends up moving outside.
So yeah,
Like, or
Duffy
actually, it might have been the opposite. It might have
Duffy
been
had
the
a
opposite.
great breakdown of this.
I think I did it opposite. I think Becton
Yes.
and then Calcaterra
Yes.
followed because he's who is Saquon is following
Yes.
on that
So,
play, if
yeah,
I'm not wrong.
Fran had a great breakdown of this because he talks about how this play didn't go how it was supposed to, but everyone improvised based on what they saw the other guy do on the
Yeah.
fly.
And that's
It's
Stoutland.
exactly right. Becton, they crash it. So all the line goes one way. And in
Right.
that play, they're trying to go the opposite. So it's very difficult when Becton comes around. He has to turn his body and block his guy inside
Yes.
because he's already crashed. And now Calcaterra has to understand that's what just happened. Now I have to set the edge because Calcaterra is supposed to turn his guy because Becton is the one that's supposed to set the edge. And all that happens in, what, 2 seconds?
It's unbelievable.
And turns into that run.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's what this team will do to you. Like, it's no more like, all right, 2-3 yards, 2-3 yards, 2-3 yards, and then 14. It's 2-3 yards, 8-9 yards, 75.
Yeah.
Because Saquon brings that extra layer of like it. You know, my father-in-law said it tonight. He was like, I watched him play at Penn State and loved him there, and obviously Penn State fans, my in-laws. But watching him be able to find second level space so consistently.
Yeah.
And Regz, look, like I think we can both say with absolute confidence, barring some, I'm gonna knock on everything near me.
Please,
barring
God.
some like crazy situation where 3 of these dudes are not able to play on, like, this offensive line is going to give him that look.
Yeah.
Especially late in games where they're just grading road grades for 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say what I say, and I mean what I say. And if this team has a lead in the second half, they're just gonna be so hard to beat. We saw it with the Rams. Like, they looked like they weren't gonna have a prayer. They went into half 13-6.
Yeah.
13-7, sorry. Get the ball coming out, and he immediately goes for 70. Then they get a stop. Or maybe they score. I think actually the Rams scored.
Yeah, the Rams scored. Mm-hmm.
And then the Eagles came down and scored. That was the Gainwell run, which was a very underrated run in this game, by the way. What a freaking cutback from Kenny Gainwell. And then they got that's when they got the stop.
Yes.
And then Saquon broke another one, and they scored coming back down with the, third string. Here's what's really going to be important. And I don't know if there's anything else we want to say about the Rams game. I think all around, like, they did what they've been doing.
I mean, again, how many times have we been able to talk about an Eagles team take a West Coast trip and be dominant?
Yeah, even
always such trap games for these for Eagles teams.
Even in 22, when they went out there against the Chargers and won early in the year, and then they lost. They beat the Rams but lost Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Those games were both grinds.
Yeah.
That Chargers game was the Blunt game.
Yeah.
Where Blunt carried the ball, I don't know, 10, 11 times in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And last year they lost to the Rams in LA. So this team, again, like I feel like, I don't think the fan base is, I don't even know if the national media is. I feel like it's fans of other teams that continue to move the goalposts on them and say they're not that good and haven't played anybody. And the Rams have been one of the better teams in football for the last like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Everybody was, praising the Commanders.
Yeah.
the yeah, they beat the Giants, they beat the wounded Cowboys, but they're not just beating teams. They're beating the hell out of teams. So that kind of that leads me into this week. And I'm just going to mention the team, then I'm going to ask you the question. They're playing what, like you said, one of the best offenses that they're going to play this year. They're a better rush defense by DVOA. I think they're ranked first in football, and the Eagles are third. So as good as the Eagles are running the ball,
right,
the Ravens are that much better. Defensively, they can stop the run. Very weak in the
secondary.
Very weak in the secondary. But before we talk about this game specifically, the question that I have is, do you feel as though the Eagles have already proven they are Super Bowl contenders? Or do you need this game to prove that they are Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah.
Because, again, I talked about the goalposts, but where are the goalposts at right now? Do they need to win this game? Do they have to show something in this game? Or do you feel like, regardless, this is a Super Bowl contending team?
I think that I'll preface this by saying I don't think they need to win this Ravens game.
Okay.
I think it's very important how they play. I think it's almost more important how they play. Like you said, this is the number one offense in football, a very good run defense. It is the best team they will play this entire season. I need to see how they play against this team to truly, if I truly believe they're Super Bowl contenders. Because look, you might get an easy first round game, but in the playoffs, you are going to play the best teams in football. And you have to know that you can compete with them. I'm not one of those people who says like, oh, their schedule's been soft. When they played the Saints were the best team in football. They had scored on like 14 straight possessions or something like that in 2 games. And no one believed that that the Eagles defense would be able to stop them. No one. The same thing with the Redskins. The Redskins come in as the hot team. You know, the Eagles do what they have to do. But this is the absolute best team that they will play this season. And I think it's very important how they look on both sides of the ball. And I need to see them look able to play with a team like this before I truly call them Super Bowl contenders.
Okay. Yes, and. So, for me, I believe they are. Period. End of story. I think a lot of what you said has some truth to it. I do think this is a team who's just rattled off 7 straight wins.
Mm-hmm.
That was also out of their bye. They're coming off a West Coast trip. Now, so are the Ravens, to be fair. And it's not a huge travel for the Eagles. So I don't want to use that as too much of an excuse. I actually said preseason that I think it's not the worst case scenario. When you look at like banged up, I don't know if Raekwon Smith is playing. I haven't seen.
I don't think they've ruled him out, but I think he's still like questionable.
Okay, and even if he's playing with a banged up like leg.
Yeah.
Okay. The Darius Slay news is big.
Yeah.
That's big. But to me, Regz, like losing this game to me isn't good. Even if they were to like say the final is like 31-17.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like I don't, you know what, unless it's like a Niners type of 31-17 like last year.
Yeah.
Where like they were never in it, but they scored twice in the fourth quarter. There might be a little semblance of concern for me because this was the time of year last year.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if this is a team that's going to go that route. I think they're very confident. I think they're better, period.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to lose that way no matter what. I hear what you're saying about like, I need them to play well. And I want them to. I don't see them not, is I guess my point, which is where I'm coming from from the perspective of like they're Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way last year.
Sure.
It was a lot of like, when are we going to see the team that's 10-1?
Yeah.
And we never did.
Yeah.
We're seeing the team that's 9-2 because, like we just talked about, they beat the last 2 weeks 2 teams that are considered to be good teams. They went to Cincinnati and blew the doors off of the Bengals.
Yeah.
This Ravens team didn't blow the doors off the Bengals. Period. In 22, when they were winning all these games and got to the Super Bowl, the big argument against them was they haven't played a quarterback. When are they going to play a quarterback? The only time they played a quarterback was when they got to the Super Bowl. And the quarterback torched them.
Yeah.
They've played Joe Burrow. They've played Jaden Daniel. They've played Matthew Stafford. None of those guys have done anything to them. Now, I agree in the sense of this is a test for them because Lamar Jackson is the elite of the elite.
Yes.
This dude is the front runner for MVP.
Yes.
If they can find a way to limit him, Saquon's probably going to be the front runner for MVP. Look, I think the Ravens are going to score 20 plus. I just don't think you can't. I just don't think they're like there's a way to keep them from doing that.
Yeah.
I also think the Ravens are going to win the game. And you'll hear that in my prediction. I don't know that the Eagles can win this, but I don't think the Eagles are going to look like a joke.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to what you're saying, but I also don't think it needs to happen unless it's a Niners type blowout, and then people can be like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to bring all of us back to last year.
But that's what I think this team needs to avoid.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
agree.
feeling that people are like, oh no, we've played the best team and now we're going to sink back into this hole where we're losing against teams that we shouldn't. You know what I mean? This team has not done that. And they've beaten teams they should beat by a lot. Like not just skated by.
The good news, Regz, is that they have a Carolina game that they should be able to get right after it. I said this to you before the show, and I'll say it now. If they do win this game, they're going to be 15-2.
Yeah.
But and I've heard the conversation about like, do the Eagles need to lose another? The answer is no.
No, I think after last year, the answer is no.
Like, you don't need to lose games to remember what it's like to lose.
Right.
These guys are pro athletes.
Yeah.
And it's not like they haven't been down.
Right.
Like, they were losing in the third quarter to the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
They were losing 3/4 of the way through the second quarter against the Rams.
Yeah.
They were getting their asses handed to them by the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they've forgotten what it's like to lose. Like, win games.
Yeah.
The Lions aren't losing.
Right.
Hell, just clinch the 1 seed and lose in week 18. You can all be happy. All right, so let's talk about this weekend.
Yeah.
The Ravens are 3-point favorites, which means on a neutral site, it's a pick 'em. It's basically a pick 'em as is. 51.5 is the total.
Sheesh.
So, Ravens wise, I think the main things to talk about here are Henry, Lamar.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, on the outside, Flowers is a really good player.
He is.
And they'll find ways to line him up all over the place.
He'll be all over the place.
Mark Andrews, another good player.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dude I think they're going to try and get Cooper DeJean in weird spots on.
Yeah.
I can see them trying to screw with Coop. a little bit with a tight end who's bigger and more physical.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what that looks like. Defensively, it's all about Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
That kid is
Legit.
special good. He's special good. Solid at Notre Dame. So happy I don't have to see him every or 2 times a year,
Yeah.
but devastated we didn't take him. I mean, I love our safety situation right
Yeah.
now, but man, how nice would it be to have him?
Having that guy plus Quignon and Coop is like,
I mean, he's a freaking
Jesus.
Swiss Army knife,
Yeah,
dude.
he's
He's
everywhere.
all over the place. So he'll be a thing. And Roquan, clearly. And
Yeah.
and look, they have one of the best interior
They do.
defensive lines in
Mhm.
football. So it's a good matchup all around. Moral of the story. We'll go keys to the game, we'll go predictions. My key to the game, Regz, is I think we're going to have to. It's so funny. I talked to you before the show about a conversation I had about not playing base defense. But I think the Eagles have to basically sit in base. And if they want, they can use Cooper as sort of like a rover linebacker type.
Mm-hmm.
I trust Nakobe and I trust Zach Bond in run defense. But if they want another sure tackler out there, I'm okay with, using Cooper in some sets. But I wouldn't be shocked to see some 6-man or some 5-man fronts
Yeah.
early in this game. Henry's so good.
I know.
He's so good. For as good as Saquon is, Henry's just as good.
Yeah.
And I think, or I know,
The tackling is going to have to be so good.
yes, but what I'm getting at is Lamar is a better runner than Jalen.
Oh, yeah.
So, you've always got to commit one dude there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm saying maybe Cooper's on the field to be that dude.
Yeah.
It's a different look because he's such a freak athlete and he's such a good tackler that if you want to leave him out there, I'm not going to be mad if nickel's the plan.
Yeah.
If nickel's the plan and Cooper is just floating out there as the guy who's going to
Right.
basically play with Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different look, but could be fun.
Yeah.
And your fifth guy on the line is that second linebacker. Maybe it's Bond playing standing up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that. But I do believe that the key to this game is slowing down that rushing attack.
Yeah.
Because if you can slow down the rushing attack, I don't worry as much about the pass. I don't. I really don't. I think if you can slow down Henry and slow down Lamar, then my prediction's not going to come true.
Yeah.
If they can run the ball, I don't think the Eagles have a chance.
Yeah.
But the Eagles have done a good job of stopping running game and making teams settle into a situation where they have to throw. They did it to the Commanders. They did it to the Cowboys. They did it to the Rams. The Bengals don't have a good run game, so I can't say it about them. They did it to the Saints.
Yeah.
So if they can do it to this Ravens team, I think they can win. I just don't know if they can.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis is a big piece of this, right?
Yeah. My key is the Eagles' defensive line and how good can they be against the run.
Right.
This is one of those times where we just completely agree on what the key to this game is. It's stopping the run.
Yeah.
If you can turn Lamar one-dimensional, you have a much better chance. We've seen some teams be able to do it. They haven't had a perfect offense all the time.
Right.
But when they're good, they are the best offense in the entire league. Just flat out. They just are.
It's crazy. Well, the other guy to consider in this whole situation, how many catches and yards does Nelson Aguilar have in this game?
Yeah, or also Likely is a very good tight end. They're very good second tight end. He's a great pass catcher and a great run after the catch guy. They have plenty of weapons.
Yeah.
But just like the Eagles, they rely on that run game to wear you down. And you just have to be able to contain that somewhat. I'm not saying hold Henry to 20 yards because that's just not going to happen. You just can't get beat down by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I All right, so let's do predictions.
Yeah.
I think that's it,
I
right?
think that's
Like,
it. Yes.
you
Let's just get
stop
it
the
over with.
run,
Yep.
you win the game. You don't stop the run, you're probably losing the game.
Yes.
Plain and simple. All right. So 51.5 is the total here. I think the Eagles are going to keep it very close. I just don't know that they have enough to win the game. I think, one of the other things to consider in this game is how bad the Ravens secondary is
Yeah.
and how you can get them for the big play.
Mm-hmm.
But the Eagles have become this is a great week to show that the pass offense
Yeah.
has taken the next step. Because I think if you can beat this team, I don't know that there's a team in the NFL that can't beat.
Yeah.
My reservation on hyperbole will totally disappear if they win this game.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know that they can. So I am going to pick against them this week. And it's not because I don't believe in them. It's just that I think it's a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to take the Ravens, and I'm going to take the Ravens 28-24.
Okay. We're very similar here. I'm taking the Ravens as well.
Okay.
Good teams beat good teams all the time.
Mhm.
It's the nature of the NFL. We never thought the Eagles would be a perfect team. I think they have exceeded expectations up to this point. And like I said, I don't think this game will result in me thinking that they're any less of a good football team than I think they are right now.
Right.
I have them losing 28-21.
Okay. Which, by your standard, would mean they're Super Bowl contenders.
Absolutely. I completely feel like I come out of this game thinking they played that team hard. Listen, sometimes you're just going to lose.
Yeah.
The Ravens are a good football team. You're in Baltimore. Like, it's a tough game, man. And look, like I just said, good teams be good teams all the time.
Right. Okay. All right. So we both have a loss. We this is not the first time.
No.
So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what this team can do against a really good AFC team. I got a lot of Steeler fans who are saying you owe us for beating the Commanders. First of all, you got a little lucky against the Commanders because that was a first down. So
yeah. So
thanks, but probably should have lost. Anyway, we'll see what happens. This is an okay game to lose, considering it's an AFC game, and I do believe that the Lions, who we're just going to briefly talk about, have probably 2, maybe 3 losses. And then you worry about tiebreakers after.
Yeah.
So here's the remaining Eagles schedule. Let's start here. This weekend, obviously, the Lions have already won. They beat the Bears barely because of poor clock by Eberflus again. He's fired, thank God. And the Eagles get Baltimore. All right. So let's just say that our prediction comes true. Lions are 11-1, 10-1, 10-1. 11-1? I don't know. 11-1, I think. The Eagles are 9-3. Okay. The following week, the Eagles get Carolina, which to me is a win.
Yes.
So they will now be 10-3. The Green Bay goes to Detroit. Green Bay's playing really well and Jordan Love is back. So could be a loss.
Yeah,
right?
Not a guaranteed win.
We get Pittsburgh the following week. I believe that's a win. They get Buffalo at home. Again, not a guarantee.
Yeah.
We get Washington in Washington, which is a pseudo home game. Okay. I think that's a win. The way Washington's playing right now, I think that's a win.
Yeah.
I know Chicago. I know what they've looked like. I think it's a product of bad coaching. They got a new coach. Jared Goff in Chicago, December 22nd. That's going to be cold. Not a guarantee.
Yeah.
Mark it down. Not a guarantee. Week 17, Dallas comes to Philly. That's probably a win.
Yes. Dallas is not trying to win at that point, hopefully.
Right. Good point. They have to go to San Francisco. San Francisco could still be fighting for their division because that division is not out of the question.
Mm-hmm.
I think the leader's 6-5. They are 5-6.
Yeah, right.
And then we get the Giants, week 18. They have the Vikings, who could still be playing for the division.
Yeah.
So, folks, it is not out of the question that the Eagles can get the 1 seed. This loss, if they lose, is not the end of the world. Last week was enormous.
Yeah.
To win that NFC game. Because all they have left from the NFC right now, is Washington, Carolina, Dallas, and New York. They should win all 4 of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Which means now there's other things to consider here. Vikings have 2 losses.
Yeah.
Green Bay has 3. So like other teams could overtake the Lions, but your biggest concern right now is the Lions. And if the Lions drop to 4 losses, 3 of those are going to be NFC losses. If the Eagles drop to 4, it's likely that 2 of those will be AFC.
Yeah.
They'll have 2 AFC, 2 NFC. So hang tight. They are not out of this. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the Lions are so good. They're so good. They're so good. They're about to play the toughest stretch of their season now. So hang tight. Eagles still have a shot. If they win this weekend, they're going to be the 1 seed.
Yeah.
I am guaranteeing they'll be the 1.
Yeah.
If they win this weekend. If they lose, it's going to be, we're going to have to see. But if they win this weekend, they will be the 1 seed. That being said, folks, I got no fixated. I have a little one. Get Chase Utley in the freaking Hall of Fame this year. And Dick Allen. For Christ's sake. We're going to start following that soon. Next episode, we'll probably follow it. We'll get in on. We have to talk about what we're going to do in terms of the show. I'm going to see Hamilton next Thursday, so we'll have to figure out another night to do it.
We'll figure it out.
Otherwise, folks, thanks for listening. We love you. Go ahead and click subscribe on the YouTube channel below. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. After you do that, go to social media at the Phixated Pod on Twitter, at the Mic Drop 5, at Big Regz with a Z. Go on to Facebook at the Phixated fan page, at the Phixated Pod on TikTok. Still need that dance reg. Check the merchandise link in the show description below. We appreciate you listening. We love you. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We will talk to you next week. Till then, birds, go do it.
God, just do it for me so I can talk to all the people that I live with and just smile while they look at me and they hate me.
Oh,
Go Birds, baby.
To right field, way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.